A little girl alone after her parents died. The shocking truth that haunts us all today. The sun had dipped below the horizon when the news broke. A parent's worst nightmare crystallized in the air as if it had weight. There, in the dusty living room of a cramped, peeling house, a little girl sat alone, the silence ringing louder than the wails that echoed in the distance. She held a tattered teddy bear, its beady eyes glistening with unshed tears, the only companion left from a world that no longer made sense. At just 7 years old, she was thrust into a harsh reality, a chilling chapter that would unravel far darker truths than anyone imagined. Whispers spread like wildfire through the small town. Mrs. Whitfield, the sweet older lady from next door, caught fragments of hushed conversations. Accident, they said, but their eyes glinted with suspicion. What really happened to her parents? It was too quiet, too convenient. The girl who should have been sheltered by love was instead enveloped in the chilling embrace of tragedy. The neighbors stole glances at her and shuddered, wondering what unseen shadows loomed over this innocent child. Days turned into nights, and the girl remained an enigma, her laughter absent from the playground where children once suited up in childhood joy. She was spotted only now and then, wandering the streets with her bear, her tiny frame casting long shadows as the sun set behind her. Adults exchanged worried looks. Some even dared to ask, "Is she safe? Doesn't anyone check on her?" Yet, nobody had the courage to knock on that door. Was it cowardice or a deeper fear of the unknown? And then, just when everyone thought they had tightened the net of concern, new rumors began to swirl, whispers of strange occurrences at the house, flickering lights in windows at odd hours, and a lingering chill in the air that left a bitter taste on everyone's tongues. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension built like a pressure cooker, boiling over when a neighbor courageously peeked through the window. What she saw sent her racing, heart-pounding, dark figures moving about in the hazy light of the room. The girl's silhouette swayed eerily, almost as if she was dancing, but the agony of her isolation was palpable. Who were those figures? Shadows of the past, ghosts of dreams unfulfilled? What kind of story was etched into those walls? One that held the very fabric of grief and secrets. The sky darkened, and a storm rolled them like an omen. As thunder rumbled menacingly, the little girl remained still, staring into the shadows where her world had splintered. What did she know about the true fate of her parents? A slip of paper clutched in her tiny hand held the answer, but would anyone dare to ask? The clock ticked, marking the time, as if urging the truth to finally break free. And with that, a voice whispered from the darkened corners of the house. What mystery awaited beyond those peeling walls? The storm unleashed its fury, hammering on the roof like an angry beast. Raindrops dripped relentlessly, tapping against the broken windows, each sound echoing through the girl's hollow existence. She could feel the storm inside her, the fear, the loneliness swirling like the wind outside. With her teddy bear gripped tightly in her small hands, she stood frozen, caught between the safety of her tattered home and the chaos that raged against its walls. As the thunder cracked, she turned her gaze towards the darkened hallway. It shifted, shadows slipping like whispers along the floor. A flicker of movement caught her eye, and she held her breath. The darkness felt alive, a pulsating entity that had wrapped itself around her heart. That slip of paper, she could still feel it there, small and crumpled, fluttering against her palm like a caged bird desperate for freedom. Then came the sounds, hushed voices, murmurs that floated through the air, tauntingly close yet barely audible. Who were they? Why were they there? She wanted to run, to hide, but something anchored her to the spot. Curiosity battled against fear, and it was a battle she didn't know how to win. Just as she began to step forward, the power went out, plunging the house into darkness. Panic gripped her. She was alone with shadows that breathed. The gusty wind screamed through the eaves, breaking the stillness. She felt as if the house itself were weeping, the very walls mourning alongside her. Then came the softest tap, barely a whisper, echoing from behind her. "It's all right, it's all right." The voice was familiar and somehow haunting. It sounded like her mother, but it couldn't be. Her heart raced, pounding in her chest like a wild animal desperate to escape its cage. "Mom?" She breathed, half hoping, half terrified. The response was silence. Daring to turn around, she peered into the pitch blackness, searching for any sliver of light. In that oppressive darkness, any shred of comfort seemed to dissolve. She felt the weight of grief settle over her, mingling with something else: fear, dread, and an eerie sense of understanding. The room shifted. Shadows danced, shimmering against the walls more than ever. She felt them closing in, dark figures lurking beyond her sight. She squeezed her bear tighter, its soft fur grounding her, reminding her of what it once meant to feel safe. And just like that, the lights flickered back on with a violent jolt, illuminating the room and casting long, harsh shadows across the floor. Everything seemed in place, yet a chilling sensation lingered in the air. Her heart drummed loudly as she scanned the room. Was it just her imagination, or had the darkness shifted, steeped in a presence that defied explanation? That S when she saw it. In the corner of the living room stood a figure, a silhouette, shrouded in shadow, as if it had seeped from the very walls. It didn't move, but she felt it watching her, waiting. The girl's breathing hitched, and with trembling hands, she unfolded the crumpled slip of paper, her eyes widening at the message that now seemed to pulse with its own sinister energy. "This is just the beginning," it read, the letters smudged, but unmistakably clear. What did it mean? Was it a warning, or something more disturbing? With her mind swirling in chaos, one thought pierced through the cloud of confusion: if this was just the beginning, what chilling secrets were yet to unfold from the shadows? She took a cautious step back, heart racing as the figure began to flicker like the dying light above her. The storm raged on, but dread settled heavily in her chest, a heavy truth hanging in the air. What lay behind the darkness? And would she find the courage to uncover it before it consumed her too? A chill ran down her spine as the figure in the corner seemed to expand, absorbing the darkness around it. Shadows clung to it like a shroud, and she fought the urge to scream. With each breath, the air grew thicker, winding itself around her lungs. She clutched the teddy bear so hard, knuckles white, feeling its soft fabric become damp under her grip. "Mom?" She tried again, voice trembling, each syllable a desperate plea. Nothing. Only the storm, raging and relentless outside, a cruel soundtrack to her loneliness. The figure remained still, but in her mind, it transformed into something monstrous, a guardian of sorrows, gathering her fears into its very essence. Just then, a loud crash of thunder shook the house, rattling the windows. She jumped, the sound echoing like a thunderclap in her chest. The lights flickered again, becoming an eerie strobe before plunging her into darkness once more. Silence. But wasn't just silence. It was a heavy, suffocating quiet that hung thick in the air, making it hard to think. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears, and with trembling hands, she pulled out the slip of paper again, scanning the smudged letters. "This is just the beginning." It felt like a taunt, the words twisting in her mind. What kind of beginning? The house creaked ominously, as if responding to her unease. Just as she thought to move, a whisper broke the silence, chilling her to the bone. "Find me." The voice was soft, almost playful, yet it cut through the darkness like a knife. It wasn't her mother. "Who is there?" She tried to sound brave, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "Find me," the voice repeated, this time closer, echoing through the hallway. In the dim light, of her own racing thoughts. She felt that shadowy figure flicker again the end of the hallway, inviting her. Numbness creeped into her limbs as adrenaline kicked in. She needed to know. What did it mean? The girl hesitated, feet glued to the floor. But that voice had tugged at her, luring her to the shadows. After a moment, she took a deep breath and edged toward the hallway, each step feeling heavier than the last, her heart hammering out a frantic rhythm against her ribcage. The whispers became clearer, a rusty door in her mind creaking open. She turned the corner, peering into the abyss of the darkened space. Was she truly ready to follow the voice? Was it a step toward understanding or a plunge into despair? Just as she gathered the courage to move deeper, another thunderclap split the sky. It was followed by a sudden crash that sent her heart skittering. The storm was shaking the very foundation of the house, but it was the darkness that shook her spirit. Find me taking the plunge. She called forth her last shred of courage. Show yourself. The air thickened, and for a moment time stood still. Shadows danced, and the figure morphed, condensing and reshaping into something almost recognizable, pulling at the edges of her memory. But before she could decipher the face, the lights flared back to life. And then she saw it. A mirror hung on the wall, reflecting not just the room, but something dark, sinister lurking just beyond her own reflection. Her breath caught in her throat. It was staring back at her from the shadows. With dread twirling in her chest, she felt the weight of the slip of paper pressing tighter against her palm. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was a revelation, a hidden truth demanding to be uncovered, rippling through her veins. What lay beyond her reflection, waiting for her to discover the shocking truth? Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but something deeper anchored her in place. Would she dare confront the frightening reality that awaited her? The mirror shimmered, its surface rippling as though it were water disturbed by a pebble. Her heart raced, thudding painfully against her ribcage. The face that stared back wasn't just a reflection. It was a haunting reminder of something she couldn't quite grasp. It twisted her stomach, bringing an unfamiliar flutter of fear mixed with an odd sense of recognition. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice barely above the sound of the storm outside. But the figure didn't answer. Instead, it blinked slowly, mimicking her every move, creating an unsettling game of mirroring that made her skin crawl. Panic coursed through her veins. She took a cautious step back, but the shadow surged forward, pressing against the glass as if straining to escape. "Find me," the voice was louder now, echoing in her mind like a warning bell. Incredulity gripped her. How could this whispering, haunting presence have made its way into her thoughts? With each second, the room shifted. The mirror's surface darkened, and she could almost see objects behind her that shouldn't exist, whispers of memories, fragmented images of her past. A family picnic, laughter, her mother's gentle smile, all swirling in shadows that threatened to suck her in. Desperation clawed at her throat. She turned away from the mirror, facing the darkness that loomed behind her. "Show yourself," she shouted. This time, her voice cracked under the weight of fear, but she needed to know. What was this terrible secret that had nested inside the fabric of her memories? The silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Then, a soft laugh echoed in the hallway, a sound that sent a shudder through her. "You don't even know what you're looking for," was that the voice again? It twisted around her, wrapping tightly like the shadows themselves, squeezing out her resolve. She backed up, bumping against the wall, trying to steady herself. How could she chase a truth that felt more like a nightmare? A flicker of movement caught her, just beyond the mirror. For a fleeting moment, she saw a familiar figure. A girl, not much older than her, with eyes dark as night and a sorrowful smile that felt painfully real. It was her, but different, haunted. The other girl raised a finger to her lips, as if hushing a secret. What do you want?" she cried out. Tears threatened to spill over as confusion clouded her thoughts. The laugh echoed again, now mocking. "To save yourself, you must understand. This is just the beginning." Her head spun. This wasn't just some spooky game. It was a dire warning, teeth bared, confronting her with an unsettling reality. She gripped her teddy bear tighter. Then, as if sensing her electrified fear, the entire house creaked loudly. A gust of wind whipped through the hall, extinguishing the light. She was plunged into darkness, the mirror only a void now, but she could still feel the weight of its gaze. "Find me. Show me," the whispers returned, relentless. It twisted in her ears, a demand she couldn't shake off. She fought against the icy grip of terror, pulling her further into the shadows. Gritting her teeth, she stepped forward into the abyss, knowing she could not turn back. The weight of her fears pressed like chains against her body, but the curiosity to uncover the truth danced defiantly at the edges of her mind. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she had to confront it. As she passed the mirror, she felt an icy breeze rush through her, filling her with frantic energy. The moment had come. The voice called again, insistent, and before she could think it through, she whispered softly, "I'll find you." But the truth of the shadows loomed large, ready to devour anyone daring enough to uncover it. What if uncovering the truth would reveal a darkness she wasn't prepared for? As she stepped deeper into the unknown, the ground seemed to shift beneath her, and she realized this was a path with no return. What awaited her in the depths was an answer that may change everything. Would she be able to handle what she discovered? The air turned heavy, thick with an electric charge, as she ventured forward. Shadows loomed like specters at the edges of her vision, dancing eerily in the corners of the pitch-black room. She could hear her heart, racing louder than ever, a war drum urging her onward despite the chilling fear that snaked up her spine. "It's just a house. Just a house," she repeated under her breath to drown out the growling whisper surrounding her. Yet her own words felt hollow. This wasn't merely a house. It breathed, it moaned, an ancient presence thick with secrets long buried. Suddenly, a door creaked open at her side. The faint light spilling from within felt like a beacon. Curiosity spiked as she edged closer, but her instincts begged her to flee. Every nerve in her body screamed caution, yet every step she took pushed her deeper into the heart of the darkness. She hesitated, but the voice surged through her thoughts once more. "Find me." Taking a deep breath, she crossed the threshold. The scent of damp wood wrapped around her like an embrace. Shelves lined the walls, each one crammed with dusty trinkets and photographs that told stories of lives lived long ago. Resilience and tragedy coexisted in this hallowed space. Against the far wall hung a framed photograph, one that immediately drew her eye. It was an image of a family, their smiles bright, but the colors had faded, just like her own fading memories. She squinted to recognize them, her stomach tightening. Was that her mother? The similarity struck her like a fist in the gut. These unknown faces bore an uncanny resemblance to her own family. But there was something off: the eyes, the glint of mischief mixed with sorrow. "Why do I feel like I know you?" she murmured, tracing the glass frame with trembling fingers, looking for answers in the faces staring back. As if triggered by her touch, a chill swept over her. The air grew colder, and the laughter from earlier warped into something sinister. "You should be afraid." The voice, now layered with a mocking tone, wrapped around her like a noose, squeezing tighter. In that moment, she felt as if the walls were closing in, the shadows converging like predators circling their prey. She jerked away from the frame as if burned, crashing into a table laden with more photos and knickknacks, sending them tumbling to the floor in a cacophony of glass, and would a soft thud echoed behind her. Heart pounding, she spun around. There, in the far corner of the room, stood the girl's reflection, the one from the mirror, now in the flesh. "Help me," the girl whispered, her voice a mere breath, carrying the weight of 1,000 unshed tears. "Help you?" But I don't. Her words faltered as the girl stepped closer, the tension in the air coiling tighter. For a split second, she saw fear mirrored in the girl's dark eyes, a deep-seated fear that made her shiver. "Time is running out," the girl shrieked. "You have to understand." It's coming for you. Suddenly, the floor quaked beneath them, sending vibrations of sheer terror through her body. Books flew from the shelves, and the very structure of the house seemed to scream in protest. The mirror in the other room began to tremble, rippling disturbingly as the figure inside twisted and writhed, its grin widening grotesquely. "Find me." The voice surged again, louder and more insistent. "Find the truth before it finds you." In that moment of chaos, clarity struck her. She wasn't meant to run. She had to face whatever this darkness was, whatever secrets this house held. Ignoring the whirlpool of panic in her gut, she steadied her breath. "All right," she called into the chaos. "I will find you." The room darkened abruptly, and in the silence that followed, she felt it the icy fingers of fate wrapping around her. She had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. What buried secrets lay hidden in this house that threatened to consume her? A shadow stretched across the doorway, and the girl was gone, leaving only whispers echoing in the stillness. With a deep breath, she stepped forward once more, the voice still echoing at the back of her mind. Face the darkness before it's too late. The floor groaned under her weight as the darkness hummed around her. A gasp escaped her lips as she realized the mirror was not just a reflection. It was a doorway. What would happen when she walked through? The mirror pulsated with a life of its own, shimmering as if beckoning her into the unknown. She hesitated, her heart racing wildly. The air crackled with anticipation. In that moment, she was both terrified and entranced. What lay beyond that reflective surface? Was it another world, a fleeting glimpse of her own past, or something far more sinister? With one more shuddering breath, she stepped forward. The sensation was like being pulled into a dark whirlpool, the cold wrapping around her like a suffocating shawl. The world behind her faded, sounds muffled to silence, until all that remained was that insistent whisper, urging her deeper into the abyss. Emerging from the mirror felt like bursting free from icy shackles. She stumbled forward into an unfamiliar room, a replica of the one she had just left, but drenched in a sepia hue, as if frozen in time. Dust motes floated lazily in the singular beam of light cutting through a grimy window. The silence was oppressive, heavy with the weight of memories that curled around her like fog. "Is anyone here?" she called, her voice wavering. The echo came back to her, hollow and forlorn, as if the house itself mourned. Movement caught her eye. A figure flickered just beyond her vision, a flash of dim light curling away like smoke. "Wait!" she shouted, chasing after it. Each footfall echoed sharply, breaking the thick silence, and with every step, unease seeped deeper into her bones. The figure danced in and out of view until it led her down a narrow corridor lined with doors. Each one seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. She stopped at the nearest door, placing a trembling hand on the doorknob, steel cold beneath her palm. Thoughts of the little girl flashed in her mind, the desperation in her eyes. Was she here? Was she trapped in this maze of rooms? With a deep breath, she turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing yet another dimly lit room. Old toys lay strewn across the floor, dolls with missing eyes, action figures warped as if having lived through some unfathomable horror. And then, her breath caught in her throat as she spotted at the same photograph of the family she had seen before, now resting atop a dusty table. But there was something different about it. The girl smiled brightly in the picture, yet her eyes were hauntingly vacant, as if they had been pierced through by an unspeakable sadness. The connection to that snapshot tightened her chest, a knot of fear and recognition binding her. "Why do I feel this pull?" she whispered, feeling a pulse of energy thrumming in the air, almost as if the photograph was alive. The omens that had dragged her into this haunted abode seemed to converge in this moment. Suddenly, she heard a scratching sound, a soft, persistent noise. It morphed into frantic tapping, as if someone or something was trying to escape. It was coming from the door at the end of the corridor. Instinctively, she knew whatever was behind that door was tied to her mission. The voice echoed faintly in the back of her mind. Find me. With dread coursing through her veins, she moved toward it. She could feel the air tighten, squeaking under the tension. Each step felt heavy, a lead weight anchoring her to the ground. What awaited her? Was it the girl who had pleaded for her help? Or was it something darker? The tapping grew louder, morphing into a frantic chorus, urging her on. She turned the doorknob, her heart pounding against her ribs. What truth lay behind it? Would it finally reveal the connection between her and the mysteries haunting this house? With one final push, she opened the door, and a wave of icy air crashed over her, suffocating her screams before they could escape. She was not alone. What lurked in the shadows, eager to greet her? The door creaked open with agonizing slowness, the sound echoing like a funeral dirge in the heavy air. She felt the chill invade her lungs, a breath of winter's grasp as shadows spilled out, clawing at the edges of the light. Heart racing, she squinted into the darkness, searching for any sign of movement. "Hello," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper, the word lost in the thick silence. Then, a piercing shriek blasted through the air, sharp and desperate. It jolted her heart, making her stumble back. A fleeting shape darted past her vision, a small figure, too quick to discern, but undeniably there, flitting between the shadows. "Please," she yelled, her throat dry with fear. "I'm here to help." The shadows thickened, swirling like smoke, and she felt an overwhelming compulsion to follow. It was harder to breathe now, suffocating dread mixing with a strange essence of hope. The figure flickered again, closer this time, revealing just enough to see pale skin and disheveled hair. The haunting cry echoed once more, pulling her deeper into the room. In one corner, a little girl stood, her back facing the door. The girl appeared fragile, draped in the remnants of a once bright dress, colors now faded like distant memories. She was trembling, gripping something tightly in her hands. The girl's head snapped around, eyes wide and impossibly dark, reflecting every ounce of anguish etched into her face. For a moment, they locked gazes, a surge of connection jolting through the space between them. "Who are you?" the girl asked, her voice tiny, almost lost amidst the shadows. "I'm trying to find you. I need help." As the words left her mouth, the little girl's expression shifted, morphing into a mixture of hope and despair. "You should have come here." The urgency vibrated in her small frame, echoing against the walls. "It's not safe." A frigid gust swept through the room, tossing dust into the air, making it swirl like tiny fairies caught in a storm. The shadows tightened around them, dark fingers reaching as if they were alive, pulling at her, pulling at the little girl, the figure beginning to shake violently. "What is this place?" she shouted, desperate for answers. The girl opened her mouth to speak, but the shadows grew restless, and suddenly, a wall of darkness surged forward. "No!" the child screamed, and panic overtook her as she tried to retreat into the corner. The shadows twisted, elongating, distorting into grotesque shapes eager to consume them both. Instinct kicked in. She lunged toward the girl, reaching out, but the air crackled violently, sending her crashing back. A blinding flash erupted, the room pulsing, echoes of laughter and screams intertwining, each note more haunting than the last. With a pounding chest, she realized the little girl was not just a victim. She was a tether between this world and something far worse. The girl's hands were still clutching that something. The shadows screeched, inching closer, and in that moment, the little girl dropped whatever she held, the object crashing to the floor with a sound that shattered the suffocating dread hanging in the air. The room fell silent as they both stared at it. The object cracked and weathered, a simple toy, a worn-out teddy bear with a single-button eye. "What does it want?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The girl whimpered, tears glistening in her eyes. "To keep us here forever." Realization washed over her, leaving an icy grip of despair. They needed to escape, but could they? Would the truth even free them, or would it bind them forever in this dark tale? With escalating dread and determination surging through her veins, she made her choice. It was time to break the cycle, but the cost might be higher than she anticipated. "Stay close," she commanded, stepping over the fallen bear, the only path ahead shrouded in darkness. Was salvation near, or were they racing toward a fate far worse than death? The air thickened again, wrapping around her, and as they moved, the tapping returned, louder now, something following them, something hungry. Could she face the truth that awaited them? The darkness closed in around them, wrapping tightly like a wet blanket. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but she squared her shoulders and moved forward. The little girl's gaze darted between the shadows, fear bursting forth in silent waves. They pressed on. "What's your name?" she asked, forcing a sense of calm into the chaos. "Lucy," the girl whispered, her small voice trembling. "I'm Lucy." "Okay, Lucy. We're gonna get out of here," she assured, gripping the girl's hand tightly. But deep inside, she felt a quiver of uncertainty. What awaited them in the dark? Just ahead, a flicker of light danced in the shadows. Encouraged, she squeezed Lucy's hand and began to move faster. But the moment they darted toward the light, the air thickened. A low, growling murmur echoed from the depths of darkness, a sinister promise of what lurked beyond their sight. "Don't look back," she urged, clenching Lucy's hand even tighter. They tore forward, hearts pounding in sync, adrenaline fueling their desperate flight. Yet just as they reached the edge of the dim light, an unseen force slammed against them, a wall of chilling energy that almost knocked them off their feet. "No!" Lucy screamed, as echoes of the shadows lunged through the air again. "Hold on!" It broke from her lips as she wrested control of the moment, pulling Lucy close. The shadows wrapped tendrils around them, and she could feel the chill of despair threading through her veins. They were hunting, and time was dissolving like mist in the morning sun. "Don't let go," Lucy cried, her grip stuttering. "I won, T," she promised, determination crackling through her voice. But just as hope flickered in her chest, the teddy bear, a relic of innocence, rolled ominously underfoot. "What about that?" Lucy pointed fearfully, her eyes wide. The bear remained still, yet there was something sinister about its presence. The single button eye gazing up like a haunting reminder of everything that had gone wrong. "We can't focus on that right now," she urged, shoving the thoughts away, yet she felt the weight of unease pool within her. What if that bear held the key? What if it was the reason they were trapped? "Lucy, we need to move. Just trust me." They began moving again, dodging through the shadows, only to have the whispers rise up, taunting them. Each word dripped with malice, familiar yet foreign, a chorus promising despair. She glanced back, seeing dark shapes swirling and clawing through the air, furious. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath them, as if the house itself was alive, shaking and quaking, trying to eject them into the void beyond. She could barely keep her footing, slipping slightly. "Run," she urged, but the shadows seemed to be flickering with a tangible anger, the air charged with electrifying dread. They stumbled ahead, the fear coiling tighter with every step. Lucy's breathing grew frantic, her small frame bannered with desperation. "Why does it want us?" she gasped, practically dragging the girl forward. "Because we are here to forgive," a whisper, barely audible, floated through the air. The shadows trembled, momentarily still, as if anticipating her response. "Forgive?" she uttered, sharp confusion flooding her thoughts. Was there something they had to forgive? The shadows swirled again, angry and restless, eager for something unseen. "Trust me," she managed to shout as they dashed past the flickering light, the shadows shrieking madly behind them. But in that moment, as they dove into the light, she felt the hold of the shadows tight around them, an icy grip against her heart. They weren't free yet. They only had moved into another layer of danger. As they broke through, a new room revealed itself, walls painted in a sickly hue, adorned with frayed photographs of moments long lost. Each face held a story, shadows of lives that had been intertwined here, but dimmed to dust. What is this place? Lucy whispered, eyes wide with wonder and fear. I don't know, she replied, dread pooling anew. With uncertainty mounting, her instinct screamed. They had to find the truth, but could they handle what lay ahead? As she turned to Lucy, ready to brave the unknown, a chilling thought snaked into her mind. Could the key to their escape be hidden among the faces staring back at them? Could this twisted gallery be their salvation or their doom? The air felt thick with sadness in the strange room, the kind of sadness that seeped into every corner, draping over everything like a heavy shroud. Each photograph on the wall was a window into a world that had vanished, the faces frozen in moments of joy, now warped by the weight of loss. She gripped Lucy's hand tighter, half expecting the gallery to swallow them whole. Look at their eyes, Lucy murmured, her small voice breaking through the silence. They look so sad. They do, she agreed, heart racing. The sadness was infectious, clawing at her from every direction. But we can't let that stop us. What, they're trapped like us? Lucy's voice trembled, and she could feel the girl's small body quaking next to hers, lost in a sea of dread. She shook her head, forcing herself to stay calm. We need to focus on getting out. The way forward must be here somewhere. But as she scanned the room, an eerie sensation crept in, the kind you felt when you knew you were being watched. The whispers from the shadows had quieted, now replaced with a hushed energy that seemed to pulse through the gallery, growing stronger with each shaky breath. She moved toward the nearest photograph, compelled by an unseen force, as if it held the answers they desperately needed. The image was of a family picnic under a sprawling oak tree, laughter suspended in time. But as she peered closer, the background shifted slightly in her peripheral vision, a shadow moving within the photograph. Heart racing, she blinked. Did it just flicker? No, it couldn't be. Lucy, come here, she beckoned, voice steadier than she felt. When the girl hesitated, she added, I need you to see this. Together, they stepped closer. Lucy's eyes widened, tears brimming as she pointed. There's something in the grass like a message. She squinted, forcing her mind to focus on the dark smudge near the family's feet. What does it say? Help us, the words seemed to echo just below the surface, a ghostly chant that threaded through the air, curling around them, almost tangible. Lucy, did you hear? Yes, Lucy whispered back, fear etched on her little face. But who is us? Before she could answer, the photographs began to tremble, the frames rattling against the walls. The whispers returned, louder now, swirling around them, taunting, chanting that single word. Forgive. Forgive, what do they want from us? She shouted into the gathering storm of sound, fury rising as the shadows began to shift violently. We need to go, Lucy cried, clutching her hand tightly. But just as they turned to flee, a cacophony of laughter filled the air, young, sweet, and innocent, that echoed through the walls. The chilling juxtaposition twisted her stomach. Wait, the words spilled out of her. What if this is a clue? What if they're asking us for something? Lucy looked up, fear contorting her expression. You mean like forgiveness? Yes. Maybe this is about their story. We need to hear it. But even as she said it, shadows danced maliciously around them, their whispers now transformed into angry cries. Panic surged. We can't stay. It's too dangerous. Yet something inside urged her forward. They were connected to this place in a way she didn't understand, to the pain that clung to the walls. And if there was any hope of escape, they needed to uncover this truth. She turned to Lucy, their eyes locking. Are we going to do this? Trembling yet resolute, Lucy nodded, her little chin lifted in defiance. Together, taking a deep breath, they moved towards the darkest part of the gallery, where shadows writhed, urging them to step closer. The feeling of ancient secrets pressed in on them, and just as they reached the last photograph, the air chilled. What is that? Lucy whispered, pointing to a face peering out from the darkness, alive, yet somehow trapped. I don't know, but we need to find out. And just then, the laughter crescendoed into a fearful scream, and she felt the darkness snap, revealing the glimmer of light hinting at their true path. Would the echoes of the past lead them to salvation or bury them deeper in the void. The air crackled as they moved closer, shadows swirling like a living beast, hungry for their fears. The photograph they stood before was an echo of despair, the figures within whispering stories of a lost childhood. As they dared to peer in, sunlight flickered through the darkness, testing the air like light breaking through storm clouds. "Listen," Lucy said, her little voice trembling with urgency. She was right. Somewhere beneath the din, they could hear the soft lullaby of a mother-esque song, resonating through the fragments of the past. "It's calling us." The childish laughter began again, mixing with cries, merging into a chorus that tugged at her heartstrings with an echo of familiarity. "It's the children," she cried. "What do they want?" Lucy pressed, eyes wide with anxiety. "They want help, they want to be remembered." The words felt alive, resonating from within. They had to confront the sorrow woven thick in this haunted place. Suddenly, the shadows shrieked, lashing out like dark tendrils, pulling them back. "No, we need to stay." She grabbed Lucy's hand, holding on tight as it fought against the chilling paralyzation enveloping them. "Please, we can't let them take us." Her plea broke through the veil of darkness. Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes, feeling the weight of every lost soul press against her, one after another downloading their burdens, their stories an avalanche of dreams broken, families shattered. "We forgive you," she started, the words trembling in her throat. "We forgive you for the pain." Lucy squeezed her hand, bolstered by courage. "And we will remember you." The shadows around them paused, vibrating with palpable energy, quivering in anticipation of the response. Was she imagining it? The air felt lighter, pulsing with a life of its own. Then came the laughter again, not monstrous but sweet, rising like a warm tide. "Yes, yes, we remember," that voice screamed, merging with the spirits that scattered among the walls. It was the release they needed, the light into the darkness. "Together," they exclaimed in unison. "We forgive you. We remember." In an explosion of light, the photographs erupted into brilliant colors, dispersing the shadows as if lifting a veil. With each confession of forgiveness, histories tangled in grief unraveled, the voices whispering their thanks, trembling in delicate threads of freedom. The room began to shift, the shadows retracting, revealing a pathway forward, a door shimmering like a mirage. She felt the warmth of Lucy beside her, the small girl glowing with newfound hope. "We did it!" Lucy beamed, her small frame radiating joy and light. Taking a deep breath, they moved toward the door. It opened, a luminous hallway stretching before them, beckoning with the promise of life and laughter beyond the drab confines they had known. With hands linked, they took that first brave step, hearts racing in rhythm, embracing the unknown but knowing they weren't alone anymore. "I want to let go," she promised, determination surging in her chest. Lucy's grip tightened. "We'll find our way together." As they ventured forth, the shadows of the house whispered a final goodbye, releasing them from their ties. Freedom enveloped them like a blanket, a testament of resilience when faced with despair. And then they burst outside into the warm embrace of daylight, the sun high in the sky, a world vibrant with color surrounding them. The air was fresh and sweet, the laughter of children ringing sweetly in the distance. They had escaped a world of darkness, but more importantly, they had found a way to confront the past, healing enough to honor lost souls without becoming ensnared in the darkness again. With a glance back at the house, now reduced to a silhouette against the vivid sky, she felt the weight lift, heart swelling with gratitude. Lucy beamed up at her, eyes sparkling like stars. "Ready for the next adventure?" the little girl asked, grinning wide. "More than ever," she replied with conviction, stepping forward into the warmth of the world. They had each other. They had life. And they would never look back. And now, dear friends, this is the moment to show your support. If you made it this far, you need to subscribe now to catch all our exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And don't forget to flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about how far Lucy and our brave girl can go on their next adventure. You must instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Stand with us, and let us keep this community growing.